Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty.
Folks, welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio with your host, Hurricane H. A new day, new show, new topic, an excellent topic, a topic that I've been wanting to actually have a guest on to discuss with us and bring some value and insights about this. It is a serious topic, and it is important to know and be aware of. With me is a great motivational speaker who actually does really dabble with this particular topic, and he knows it best, and he understands it, and he is putting the awareness out there. And today we're going to do that. Hopefully we can bring some awareness to the topic, and it's not a secret. We're going to talk about it. It's autism. And not only is he motivational, he's also a speaker, he's also an advocate. And I think that's important because he has that drive, he has the mission, and it is not a simple process to deal with autism, whether it's you or your family or someone. It is, and there's a lot of stigma, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, and we don't even understand autism well enough, at least not the most of us. And I personally do have, someone that's close to me that has autism, so I know a little bit about it. But certainly, we want to know more from someone who actually does the work to advocate. So, without any further ado, Jimmy Clare, did I get it right?
Yep.
I was trying to is that the right way? Yeah, okay, yeah, but I figured it out. So that's good. That's good. So Jimmy, welcome to the show, man. And I really appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to our audiences and talk to me. And I really want to learn more because it is something important that we need to understand how this thing works and what it is, what we can do to help, and all the good stuff, and also just create awareness out there in the world. I mean, there's a lot of education out there that I hear. There are months, that are dedicated, and there's times of the year, but we need to know about these things all day long and every day. So first things first, Jimmy, tell us about your story, how it began. I know before you got into the business of motivational speaking and doing this work, you had to deal with some stuff. And so let's talk about the birth of Jimmy to today.
Well, when I was growing up, I was really shy. I tried to keep, I didn't know I was autistic when I was growing up because my parents, my brother, my cousins, and all my extended family never used the word autism around me. And not because they were ashamed, but just because they didn't want to treat me differently. They didn't want me to feel treated differently or anything. Mm-hmm. Though that didn't make any of my schools districts not treat me differently. I kind of felt like they went down their way just to make me feel different and not very welcome in their community. And the reason I brought that up is because I'm still in my school district area, and I saw some kind of a postcard or a magazine that they send out to everyone every single school year. And it's like, we include everyone. It's like, well, you did a hell of a job when I was in school. And it's like, you did not include me in anything whatsoever. And I get it that things could change. And it's been 10 years since I was in high school, but I kind of still hold a grudge a little bit, only because, let's see, it took 100+ times for them before I get there, when I was growing up, I had to overcome 9 ear surgeries, and because I was deaf in this right ear, and I had a cholesteatoma. I can't really explain that one to you. It's basically kind of like a rope. Think of it as like a roadblock blocking traffic, etc. But this is just blocking sound and everything. And I don't know the medical terms analogy since I'm not a doctor.
Okay.
But they, uh, I didn't have all nine surgeries in one sitting. It was over a couple of years. I had my last one in 2012, and and I remember my parents were always worried that I wasn't going to be able to talk or walk at a certain age. And I remember my mom told me her friend's husband said to her one day when she was taking him to chemotherapy, "Don't worry about Jimmy never ever talking because one day he'll never shut up." And he predicted the future because I haven't shut up since. And I've been on my soapbox for I'm 29 years old, so I've been I've been on my soapbox for 29 plus years. So and I always remind my parents, it's like, I gave you a few years for of quiet. Now I'm just making up for the time.
Jimmy, I love it. I love it. Well, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I mean, I think I'm listening to you and the attitude that you have and just the perspective that you have, I think is unique. And you said a few things in this couple of minutes. And one is, just the ability, your family and how they felt and, more or less and how they try to kind of deal with the autism fact. And again, from a parent's perspective, I can't speak to it personally, but I could to a degree, because again, like I said, I have someone that's close to me in family, member that does have, autism, and I know how it is and some the difficulties that come with it, and it's difficult, right? But what you said is about you're going to school and not getting the same fair shot as most would have. You've gone through some bullying. I did read about that, and it is something that we would like to address today, because I think people are sometimes very not very sensitive to things and to people and to their feelings and to their conditions. And that's the other thing. You were in, I'm assuming, in a regular school, but you were not getting the same exact, I guess, treatment like another child, another student, equally, activities wise, whatever it is. And that shouldn't be the case. To your point, it is a statement. Everybody's equal. Everybody gets the same treatment. But you felt it firsthand, and that is not something that's acceptable. That is not something that I think we should just take light of, because I think we need to put the word out there and we need to be aware of it, and we just have to push more that no, you shouldn't feel different. You should be really included in all the stuff, and that's not easy. But I think systematically it has to change. I know some depends on the area, depends on the schools, depend on the counties, depend on even the states. There's different things. There's a lot of places where it's more, acceptable and more like, inclusive. There's other places probably not. Again, I'm not the expert on this either, but the idea is that we need to, at least from this platform, share, whoever's watching right now, listening, we need to be more aware of things. We need to be inclusive. We need to be helpful. And come on, guys, the bullying business, it doesn't really work. I mean, it's and we've covered a lot of bullying in previous shows, with psychiatrists and things. It just impacts people, and everybody in their life is going to go through it to a degree or another, sometimes just because of whatever it is. Even if you're not suffering from, let's say, autism or any other stuff, there's bullying that happens every day, for culture, for religion, for, sickness, for all kind of stuff, right? People are just sometimes brutal, unfortunately. And it hurts me to think about it, really, because I don't like that. I was bullied too when I was a kid, so I can relate to that. And it was not because of anything. I was just too short, too skinny, and people made fun of me. I was also the youngest, in my classroom, and so that was not helping. It's different circumstances, but bullying remains the same. It stays with you for life, and it does impact, how you deal with things. And yeah, to a degree, there's a grudge. We deal with it differently. What I love what you did is that you were able to overcome. you were able to actually become a voice for people that maybe today going through it. And that is actually admirable. And I think that is just beautiful. So I want to thank you, for the work you do and for just being out there and talking. And I love what you said about you had a quiet few years and then you make up, the difference now in talking. And you're doing the podcast, you're doing this, you're doing the talks, you're out there, you create a company, for motivation, to advocate. And that is also in itself, just a success. And I think that's another thing. Most people, autism, do they have a fair, share? Can they do the same? That's the part that, that's amazing. As far as I know, autism is a lot of stuff, there's a lot of spectrum there and there's different levels, and some are extremely, smart and intelligent and do a lot of stuff, and they do tremendous stuff in the world. And we don't even understand that. I mean, I try to get some experts on the show to actually talk like from a clinical perspective. And I still want to, shout out to everybody out there that wants to come on and explain to us autism and talk about it and all that stuff. We'd be more than happy. And actually, maybe Jimmy, you can come on that show too. And then we can have the perspective from both angles, but we want to do that. So that being said, now let's talk about that experience when you were going through that bullying phase and everything. How did you deal with it at the time? I mean, I know it wasn't easy. What were some of the things that you've applied, or at least maybe through your family, through your own, to help kind of revamp some of that, or at least, push it out until you were able to get through high school and college and all this stuff?
Well, because I got bullied for 8+ years, and it was hell every single day going to school. There's times where my parents had to drag me out of bed because I didn't want to go. And I also got to a point where I became very depressed, in a dark place. I absolutely hated school. It wasn't just a few bullies. Like I said earlier, the district was also somewhat of a bully as well. It was in elementary school. I don't know if this was legal or illegal back then because, laws have changed and whatnot. And I didn't understand laws back then. I mean, like, I was 8 years old. I was like, all I thought was, can I have lunch and can I leave? And plus recess. But during elementary school, I remember, I'll admit I did some stuff that I'm not proud of, but for people who are listening, you need to understand is that there was like 3 or 4 different adults working with me at a time in the bigger classroom. And I got overwhelmed because I was like, who would I listen to? This person, this person, this person, or this person. And it was not consistent either. Sometimes it was all 4 of them on one day. Mm-hmm. And then weeks later, just 1 of them. And then some of them are just none of them. And nothing was consistent. And people on the autism spectrum likes consistency. They like their schedules. They like to have a routine. Well, I remember my school calling up my parents, and I remember my parents arguing back with my school because I was on both ends of the phone at some point or the other. And I remember my parents saying, it's like, gee, you don't know why Jimmy's not cooperating with you? And it's like, you're not even telling him when stuff is going to happen, like fire drills. I didn't like that loud noise. Mm-hmm. And I'm not saying like all loud noise is affecting me. Like I can go to an AC/DC concert and not be affected. But it was like a really high-pitched and annoying noise or someone yelling at me. I can't stand it. And but to my point, there was times in elementary school where I got very frustrated. I tipped over desks. I tipped over chairs because I didn't know what was going on. Because everything was all over the place. I felt like my world was kind of collapsing. And I know it wasn't like totally collapsing, but at the time when I was 8 years old, it was like, I don't know what's going on anymore. I'm getting dragged out of this room. I'm going to this room. I'm going to that room. I don't know what's going on. And my school thought would be a good idea to take me out of the classroom to settle down. So, and which would have been okay for me, but doing so, they took me to, and this probably explains why I absolutely hate the color white in any room that I go into, because they took me down to the nurse's office. This white grayish bench. Well, not really a bench, but it was like one, like sometimes you see in this TV, like, for instance, Family Guy, like that in the therapist's office, that, like, I don't know, like there's that little couch little thing, not like a full couch, but just like with the pillow on it, I guess. I don't know how to explain it, but everything was just white in the room, and the point, and when they put me in there, because I still wasn't settling down, they used restraint on me, and they put my arms across my arms in front of me and pulled from behind. My t-shirt got stretched out. I had marks on my arm for a few days. My parents told them to demand them to school to stop. Again, I don't know if it was legal or illegal back then, but what I know now is that it's actually illegal and illegal in 20 states. I don't know what happened to the other 30. I think they all fell asleep while both sides were both pointing fingers at each other. I guess it's an exhausting job. If they even do anything, I'm not sure. Not playing politics or anything. To be honest, I hate them all. So, but fast forward, there was in middle school, it became a war zone for me because I have spinal stenosis in my neck. And not to offend anybody, but I'm going to call whoever was before me in my class in middle school, there was this idiot, and I'm going to say idiot because the person created this game for slapping necks. And I'm like, I don't know what the game was called. I don't know what the point was, the game of it. But, everybody, my neck is very delicate, but because of the spinal stenosis, and I remember my neck doctor, when I had one. I'm still looking for another one. But he explained basically the spinal stenosis. It's the spinal cord. No, the spinal cord was kind of resting on the. No, I'm sorry. The spine is basically pressing against the cord.
Right.
I always keep mixing them up. But basically it's tight, so it's hard for me to move my head left and right and up and down, where you can make it like probably a very full twist. In my body, I can't twist. I can do a little bit, but if I stay there too long, I get all dizzy and lightheaded. I'm like, wonderful. And what he explained to me, and I know I'm jumping around a lot, but this person, my doctor told me, he says there's only and this was like years ago, he said there's only a 1% chance of it to be successful. And what they would do is they would take a rotor-rooter and to open up the spinal cord to have more movement, but it's only a 1% success rate. And I was thinking that And it's like, let me know when it's 99%, because it's like, I don't like that freaking odds.
Uh, no one's gonna go with a 1%. I mean, that's not. Maybe today there are some potential opportunities other than surgery, and I've had a few guests that do different things about neck manipulation from a chiropractor or different physical therapy. Again, I'll share with you some connections. Maybe you can have an opportunity to talk to them, and there's that. And by the way, Jimmy, you're not all over the place. I think you're really talking about the core of your experience. And by the way, you spoke about somebody slapping your neck. I mean, I'm much older than you, and frankly, that tradition, apparently, that game's been in existence for quite a while, because I was also subjected to it. Back in the days.
Well, I didn't know how far the game went back, so I was just guessing.
No. But I'm telling you, it's that old, and it's idiotic and dumb. And you know what? These fools, sometimes they don't realize what they're doing, because they can damage somebody badly. And again, in my world, I when I got to that degree, I eventually, my parents decided to put me into martial arts, and that kind of gave me a whole different approach. And again, I don't think I know you done some work and working out and gym stuff, but that was kind of like my way of dealing with it, with that whole nonsense. And it helped a little bit in terms of, like, getting better in terms of how I dealt with the situation. But it is not appropriate. You spoke about the system and how you were treated with in the school by the staff, and I think that's another thing that would not be tolerated today in most of at least in my area, in my state. And by the way, I think you're in Jersey too, right?
I'm in Pennsylvania, but
Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Was this in Pennsylvania or in Jersey, by the way?
This is all in Pennsylvania. There.
Okay.
Yeah, I grew up in it. I was only in New Jersey for a short amount of time, because I was born 1993, and then we moved in 2002, and I've been here for 22 years.
Right.
Which is scary as hell.
Time flies, right? Yeah. But Jim, I tell you, so I, in today's world, a lot of this stuff should not be tolerated, should not be accepted. We should be vocal about it. And I admire the work that you do, because going out on podcasts and talking to different people and having your own talks and your own company to talk and motivate people that have autism or even not, because I think what you're doing right now can help a lot of people be aware regardless and speak up. And you're right, it's not enough. We don't hear about it, maybe occasionally, but it's not. There are some community groups and so on and so forth that are out there, associations, but is it enough? I don't think that's the case. And but no one should get away with stuff that they did to you. And I mean, you literally were like being a hostage, being wrapped up, and that's not even, I mean, just the visual of it doesn't sit. As a parent, I would go nuts, for my kids if somebody did that to them. I mean, I'll go really bananas. I'm stating above. That's not acceptable. And I know your parents probably did whatever they had to do.
They did. To be honest, if I was a parent and my kid was going through the same thing, and the school wasn't doing anything about it, I would put a lawsuit on the school's head. And I was like, this is dangerous. This should be banned. And it's like, and whoever does this kind of stuff should get a fine up to, I don't know, say $25,000 fine. I don't think those families would be buying. Sorry, I'm not picking out. I'm not saying it might not have anything to do with the parents, but
Well, Jimmy, I can tell you that they should be banned from working in the school system if they did that. I mean, that's the first thing. And of course, they should have heavy fines and, maybe losing whatever license they have, because that is not acceptable. When we send our kids to school, we send them and we trust the system. We trust these teachers and the administrations of these particular facilities to take care of our kids. They are our jewels. They are our, blood, and we love them. And when we give them, our children, we expect to have the right treatment for them, and not, we're not sending them to actually corrections. I mean, even in correction facilities, people are treated, with decency. So that's not completely. And then, by the way, it doesn't matter what decade this happens, it should be just completely stopped, and people should be aware of it. And the more we talk about it, I think the more people can have, a little bit of an impact here, and maybe someone can do something about it to your point, from the legal aspect, Write a bill, folks out there. If you're a legislator, this is important. There's so many things that we need to be doing and different angles, and the news, the media, everybody should be talking about these things. And like I said, I mean, and by the way, Jimmy, your story is probably happening today in a lot of areas, and just people are not saying anything. I mean, there's so many things that go on behind the scenes that no one knows about, or maybe unless it goes to social media, it gets viral, nobody's hearing about it much. And sometimes we also, as parents, we try to keep it under wrap because we don't want the big media, the news, and to be on the spotlight. But there is that. I mean, maybe if we did that, enough, I think people would be more aware and more scared to do bad things, and they'll treat everybody with respect. But that's not, especially knowing your status, especially knowing what you had to go through and your person, and the fact that you had autism and stuff. It shouldn't have been. I'm assuming that was clear to them. It's not like a secret. You said it. They had, you were getting a special, form, a format of education. You had 4 people that were supposed to be taking care of you. And again, that's the other thing. There was not consistency there. Knowing that's a program. These programs are run, and they have some regulation to themselves. They have some systematic stuff that they have to follow. And it's not just ad hoc, business that they do. I mean, these are like the IEP programs and things like that. There are special classes dedicated for folks that may have different spectrums, or without even autism. People have sometimes, just low understanding or different levels of accepting information, and in the education level, it may be different and varies. So it changes from one person to the other. But to your point, where you're in a small class setting. When you're a special education, system, you have to be treated differently, and that's understandable. But again, people sign up for these things. Parents sign up for these programs to help their children, not to get their children bullied or abused. I mean, that is not completely. There's no acceptance to this level whatsoever.
Well, the other bullying came from the 4 kids that bullied me. 2 of them were in the middle. Well, all of them were in my middle school and high school. In middle school, what I did, I skipped taking the bus at sometimes, because one of the bullies were on my bus. And so on the way home, I was getting bullied, and I was like, this really freaking sucks. And so I made the excuse to miss the bus and call home. I lived only like less than 5 minutes away from my house. I could walk, but in the cold months, it's it doesn't get to -40, but sometimes it can go down to the teens and single-digit numbers sometimes. And my parents didn't want me to walk home by myself, and I was only in middle school, so. If I was in high school, that would be a different thing, but I would have to cross the street, etc. But more to my point, so when I skipped missing the bus, my special education teacher at the time, she noticed something was off, especially because I like my routine, and she knew what to look for. I unfortunately, she didn't buy my excuse, but she let it slide. But the second time, she caught my BS right in a total lie. And and I know lying is not good, but I didn't want, because the bullies made me feel like asking for help is a sign of weakness. I said, well, how can I avoid showing weakness? And it's like, so I decided, let me do something that is totally out of, not who I am, and do something that's not expected of me. And then maybe that person will come to me and say, Jimmy, is there something wrong? Instead of me going and asking for help. It was this kind of, I wouldn't say a game in my head, but it was just like, how do I go around this situation? And so finally she cornered me not like in a corner, but she just like she wouldn't let me call my parents until I tell her what's going on. And she was totally furious, not at me, but because I told uh the assistant principal in my middle school about all the bullying, and I have to tell you, I kind of wonder if he was like high on weed or something, because he was. I mean, he didn't smoke. I can always tell when someone's a smoker because their clothes smell, all their breath smells, the room smells, and everything. I mean, again, no offense to anyone who smokes or anything, but I mean, it just completely obvious. No offense, uh, but
I mean, they can smoke all they want, but not
yeah, I know.
not in a school where you're actually taking care of children and kids. Not
Well,
acceptable.
I mean, this person honestly, the reason why I say that, I mean, he wasn't smoking, but the reason why I say that humorly is because he always said, "Oh, bullying doesn't exist in this school." I'm like,
Really?
really? Maybe step out of your 2 by 2 foot office, you would see it more, and because like the head principal, she always walked around and she knew what was going on, but this guy, he was like totally full of himself, and it's like you must be fooling yourself or something, because it was like it exists, and it's like, but maybe not in your own world, in your own little head.
Well, Jimmy, I have to say, I mean, you're talking about 2 decades plus ago, and there were not social media was not the big, and people didn't have those smartphones then to actually, like, right now everything's everybody's like happy trigger with their phones, right? That's one. Two, bullies are smart enough not to do this in front of the principal or the assistant principal and in public. I mean, now you get some crazies, they do that stuff in the hallways, whatever, but really it's different. Especially high school is probably crazier, but you're right. It's obviously if he walks or she walks around, they're not going to see all that activity. That activity, it's in the bus.
But she has, though. She saw it multiple times, and she told them to stop. This assistant principal, there's the head principal and 2 assistants. One of the assistants was pretty good. The other one, not so much. And but to my point, it took him like 100 reports to finally go do something. And between my mom, my special education teacher, my guidance counselor, even the head principal, she even had to go say something to the assistant principal. I was like, holy freaking, does this guy do anything all day long or what? And I mean, again, I forget what age I was at the time in middle school. But
I'd be early teens. I mean, like probably 12 or 13.
Yeah, but and obviously I didn't say any of that at all. But I just want sometimes I wanted to say to him, it's like, "What, you're a freaking idiot," or what? Again, I didn't say that, and there was a few other things I may have said at the time to him, which I shouldn't have said. I don't remember what I said, but
Jimmy, I'm sorry. No one should, you shouldn't take, you don't have to excuse yourself or apologize for that. I'll tell you that much, because you were literally a teenager, a kid, and in that situation, you had to deal with it the best you knew how to deal with it, and frankly. Anybody listening right now, you're not being judged for what you said and whatever, because they should have known better how you were dealing with, what you were dealing with, first of all, and how the impact, because you mentioned very powerful things, Jimmy, right now. One is the fact that you were getting depressed. Two is you didn't even want to go to school. You were forced to lie to prove that you actually can deal with situation and that you're not, a weakling and stuff like that. You shouldn't have never been, in that position to start with, right? And, for all audiences right now, if you have someone that you love or friends or whoever it is, or even people that might go into that have autism or any other type of any other type of situation that they deal with, that prevents them or makes them different from, let's say the standard, I guess the population in the school. We shouldn't be accepting these behaviors, and we should not actually just surrender to them. We need to be more vocal about it, and we need to understand what the ramifications, and how that damages, the mind of especially a kid. This is the part where you're vulnerable, you don't know, and you're afraid to go to your parents, tell them stuff. You're afraid to go to school. That's a problem. You should not be afraid. You should not have to lie. You should not have to actually feel for your life and get depressed and don't even want to go to school. You want to be fully aware that you want to love to go to school and learn. You want to love to actually have a life and happy and just be like, everybody else, happy times, right? You don't want to be like, I'm the marginalized kid or always being, on the corner. And one, you're being treated wrong by the kids in your age group, and then you're treated bad by the staff. That is not fair at all. I mean, so Jimmy, no excuses, no apologies meant.
Well, and then fast forward a little bit. In high school, those bullies followed in my age group, but they left me alone for the most part. But then I got to know 3 more bullies, which was great times, not. And so finally in 11th grade, after discovering P90X, which was a program from Tony Horton, also from Beachbody, I lost 30 pounds with P90X, and I remember I had to get a whole new wardrobe set because nothing fit me anymore. So I had the confidence to stand up to the bullies when I was in my math class. I waited till the last 10 minutes of my class because my friend who's in a wheelchair, she sometimes bumps into the door frame because these door frames are like this. And she was in one of those wheelchairs where it's electric, and the joystick is harder to steer with. And I would sort of kind of know because when video games first kind of came out for computers and then 90s, my brother and I got this game, a Star Wars game that was with a joystick, and it was the most annoying thing to use. And like,
I remember Atari, they had those.
I mean, it's not like these controllers with the small little joysticks now. It was just one big giant
in the
thing.
middle. I know,
and it was like it was hard to steer, and it was like, come on, you stupid ship, go this way. This freaking thing doesn't freaking work. But then so the bullies laughed at her when she was leaving the classroom, and she bumped into the door frame, and I was like, how's that funny? It's not. And like, I'd like to see you drive one of these freaking chairs around because I know I couldn't, and especially for this small little door frame. And so I got pissed off in math class because all my teacher could say, and I feel bad for him because I knew he was doing his best and whatnot, and I liked him, even though I hated math. But he just told them to knock it off, and it's like, well, how many times have you told them this just this year alone? And this was 2011, and I'm like, how many times have you told them to knock it off? And it's like, they haven't done that by now. So I took matters in my own hands. Now, I decided to do math class because I didn't want to, I wanted witnesses. I didn't trust the security cameras in my school, especially because, those TVs and movies shows where, like, when there's security cameras, you see an office with those big TVs on the walls. Well, I've been literally in every single part of my school. It was either because I was misbehaving or whatnot, but I'd never seen one single security feed of cameras anywhere. And it's like, where does this go to? Nothing? Is it just decoration? I was like, no, my freaking school is probably decoration. And so basically, I decided to take my, so I stood up to them in math class. I remember going over to their desk. My veins were popping out because my muscles were showing. And in that moment, I felt like I turned into the Incredible Hulk. And unfortunately, I didn't turn green because I probably would scare the hell out of the bullet just by turning green. But when I stood up to them, I went over to their desks. I remember looking at them dead in the eye, not even a blink. And they both looked at me and was like, what is he going to do? And they didn't even say that, but they had the looks like, what the hell is going on?
They didn't expect it.
Yeah. And I, before they could even say one word, I yelled, I cursed, I called them every name in the damn book that I know. And it felt so good. And then I remember after everything I said, I was sent down to the principal's office. But when I was sent down to the principal's office, my head principal that was from middle school then came to my high school. We kind of had a history, kind of good and bad. And she heard what happened, and she's like, "You're not in trouble." I'm like, I just said every freaking word in the book that I shouldn't probably have said.
Yeah, but you stood up for the righteousness for your friend who actually they were making fun of.
You stood up to your friends. You stood up to the bullies. Your teacher told me what happened, and she's like, if your teacher has any complaints against you, it's like I'll wave them off. And a few days later, she gave me an award for standing up on my own 2 feet. However, real quick, my 12th grade English teacher was sort of a bully as well. And I would say she provoked me a little bit. And every time when I went to her classroom, I was like, welcome to the gates of hell. I got that line off of 2.5 Men. Every time when Charlie went to his mother's house and was like, oh, just keep driving until you reach the gates of hell. And so, and there was times where I said to her, I was like, oh, and it's like, where's your broomstick? You forgot it? She was literally the Wicked Witch of the West, though she had red hair.
Jimmy, I have to say, I'm listening to you, and as you grew up, I think you've grown some thick skin, and you became a little bit stronger to defend yourself the way you could. And by the way, that's unfortunate that you had to go it that way. It's unfortunate that you had to become, tough cookie to actually deal with stuff and just be who you were to be at the time and say it the way you felt it, because it felt good. It got it out of your system. And you know what? That shouldn't have been the case. But unfortunately, everything that you had to deal with was in the wrong way in terms of how you were treated. And so that's the problem with all this. People are not prepared. They're not educated enough to deal with autism or any other type of problem. I mean, or any other condition for that matter, not a problem. And you were able to do this throughout the years because you had developed. And one thing that you said, which is actually, I guess it's intriguing, because you mentioned something about losing weight, which means that you implied the idea that you had gained weight before, and as you were younger. And so as you got into more gym and stuff, you became fitter and things like that. And then that gave you some of the confidence. And that in itself, that shows that, the things that you were going through were, basically talking about stress and eating and all the stuff. And that's the other part that people probably made fun of. Because that's the other thing. These kids, unfortunately, I've gone through them, you've gone through them, and a lot of people are going through this all the time. Some people are just afraid. Some people are not standing up to themselves, to on their feet, as you said, and against the bullies. And it is not fair. It is not just. And I think today things have changed a little bit. A lot of the schools are a little bit more sensitive, more educated to a degree. I don't think we're there yet. But that's just the way it is. But so I wanted to ask Jimmy one thing, and I'm sorry I cut you off. One thing I wanted to ask is that throughout this process, was there any medical intervention for you, like something that you were going through in terms of whether physical, medicine, things that you were taking, or a doctor that's been, pretty much working with you to get you through this process as well? And I'm not talking about psychiatry. I'm talking about medical, physical.
No, I had a psychiatrist who I liked for a few years, multiple years. And then, let's say later on in life, she made a big mistake, and then I left. And just for personal reasons, and because I kind of felt like she was only seeing me for a paycheck, and I was like, and she wouldn't let me tell my side of the story if me and my mom had an argument, and I wouldn't mind if she agreed with my mom on a topic and disagree with me, but it's like, at least hear my side of things. And she so I left her, but I was taking Prozac and Risperdal at one point, but I hated those because one, they made me gain weight. Well, and my poor diet back then. Well, not even diet, but my poor lifestyle back then. But then, but the medicine sure didn't help either. And I also didn't like it because it just masked my true feelings. And it's just like, oh, it's helping you. And it's like, well, if you ever seen the movie The Joker, the recent one,
yes,
he's like, I'm always happy. And that's like me. That was like me. It's like, oh, I'm always happy. And it's like, screw this. And it's like, but deep down inside, it's like, yeah, on the outside, I'm really happy. On the inside, it's like, you suck, you suck, you suck. Of course, but like, since it was masking everything, I didn't get to say anything. Of course, I wouldn't say that now, or I wouldn't even say that back then, or maybe I would have, because I didn't have really much of a filter. But I didn't like the masking. If I wanted to feel happy, I want to feel happy. If I want to feel sad, I want to feel sad. If I want to be angry, I want to be angry. And maybe some people like the masking, but for me, it's like, this feels forced. I don't like this. And sometimes it didn't always help either, because I still felt annoyed and frustrated. And it's like, I have a mix of emotions, and this thing is just, hey, it's just blocking my emotions. And it's like, yeah, I basically became like a brick wall. And it's like,
that was a good impression.
Thank you.
You froze there for a second. That was good. I thought literally the camera froze. But listen, Jimmy, I by the way, I appreciate you just being as open about it as possible. And by the way, thank you for sharing that, because we all are entitled to our own emotions, and yes, we can control to a degree, but to your point, if you are constantly like just blah, and it's like, again, you're drugged, then you're not in your true state. Whatever the case may be, is it to control maybe your emotions, whatever. Again, I'm not an expert in the autism, level, and what to do with, different levels. But it doesn't matter. You are Jimmy, and Jimmy needs to be feeling, as he should. And you're right. If this stuff is not working out for you and you felt that way, then maybe the doctor could have changed something. Now, again, I'm not stating anything about the doctor's diagnosis or prognosis and treatment here, but you are the patient. And, I guess the listening part to your needs and stuff should be part of it. Again, they probably can have a different argument about it, that was what's needed because of the situation, whatever the case may be. But you did it and you stopped seeing this doctor. So what happened then? You stopped taking medication?
I stopped taking medication, and this doctor also, for instance, when I was after I graduated high school, she wouldn't let me get off the medication until I get like a part-time job. So I got a part-time job here and there, but she still wouldn't let me get off the medication. And it's like, why are you doing this to me? And it's like, if I'm doing well with my emotions, I should, and if I want off, I want off. She's like, I'm not letting you get off. And it's like, so you're forcing me to take this piece of crap medication that I don't want anymore. And she's like, she wanted to answer the question straight. And it's like, oh, so you're doing this chicken little crap game with me. And it's like, I'm not going to stand it. So I kind of, let's say, I made an embarrassment out of her in front of her community, because I walked out, slammed the door, and I was totally pissed off. She wanted me to come back in. It's like, why? So I can hear more of your stupid rules. And it's like, I play by your damn rules, and here's where it got me. And I never saw her ever again. She did later on admit to my mom, and my mom told me this. I didn't know this at the time because I was all too pissed off to even listen to one word she had to say anymore, because she lost my trust. And when, let's just say, overall, any doctor loses your trust, it's time to find a new doctor, because the relationship is just gone, the connection is just gone. And so it took me a while, and I found a psychologist, because they can't prescribe medication. Now, I'm not saying, okay, if the medication works for you, go right ahead. It worked in essence, it did work for me. Because it had the effect for me, but I just didn't like the feeling, and I didn't like that she was using it again. Well, in my opinion, I felt like it was against me. It was like, I'm not allowing you to do this until you do this. And then she just kept on changing the damn rules. And it's like, holy freaking crap. And it's like, and it's kind of like what I experience now in some state, in some cases for my business, is where I'm playing by everybody's freaking rules, and then they freaking change it. My companies change it without even notifying me, etc. And it's like, I'm playing by everybody's freaking rules, and then no one tells me anything. And then when I get pissed off at that company, and they all look at me and say, we don't understand why you're pissed off. And it's like, you don't understand why I'm pissed off. And it's like, what the freaking hell?
Well, Jimmy, you said something earlier on the show about you like consistency, you like things a certain way. You would think that, I'm listening to you right now, and our audiences are, you would think that someone with an expertise would understand that's your personality, that's what you need, and therefore you need to have some level of staying, the same pace, everything, because that's what makes you. And actually, that leads me to my question. The next question is that what makes Jimmy, nice and just living happy and good? What doesn't, obviously, is everything that is disrupted. And I can see that clearly from your, the discussion we had so far. So it's not, I'm listening to you for about 40 minutes and I'm getting your pitch. I get you, and you would think that people around you that know you more probably would, and again, maybe I'm wrong, but at least based on what I'm hearing, there is you and there is the autism, and you are dealing with it. You are successful at this point. You're doing a lot of good stuff, but there's the stuff that makes you happy, the stuff that makes you take and do good things, and the stuff that actually gets you upset. And it is not difficult to see it. If you are expressive, you are talking. It's not like you're not telling people what you feel. So you think that people would understand that and work with you accordingly. And it's not even like accordingly, meaning that they have to be specifically changing the treatment. It's just that, you deal with hurricane as Hurricane. You deal with Jimmy as Jimmy, and we deal with everybody according to who they are and their personality, and we can adjust accordingly as we meet a lot of people in our lives, right? And so you've gone through this. Now I want to just jump a little forward, just in the interest of time. You've gone through this difficult times originally, but then you've outgrown that, and you've taken it to the road, and you started working out, and I'm not sure if I'm assuming you still do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, good. So then you're working, and then you decide to start your own company, and so I wanted to go to that item, the idea that you started your own. So first of all, congratulations for that, because a lot of people are afraid to do that, and it's difficult and it's scary, and most people are afraid because of the risk and so on and so forth. But you took that leap, and you did it, and you did it within the realm of your expertise, or at least your experience, and what you want to achieve with it. Now, it's funny because you have the name of CrazyFitnessGuy, right? So what made you start CrazyFitnessGuy?
Well, what made me start it was I felt like there needs to be a way to support people in the autism community that wasn't just autism. Because now I'm going to just name a few names. I'm not bashing them. I'm just naming some. Like, for instance, you got the Autism Speaks. I do not like. No one in the autism community likes them, because they, for years, and they still do, if you know where to look, their mission was to cure autism. Now, that's the only company I'm going to just bash. But the other companies, like there's Autism Parenting Magazine. I mean, they're great resources. Autism Parenting Magazine is a great resource. I don't hate the name. And then there's Autism Society. But my point being is that the autism community, what I've learned over the ages of being autistic myself, is that we want to be more than just autism. We wanted to. We don't. Well, I'm going to speak from my point of view. Is that I don't like the programs with the words special or best. Like, for instance, best buddies. Special education. I don't like the words Special Olympics, etc. Now, I'm not bashing any of those programs, but someone who has similar traits like I do will see that in a negative light, because it's like, well, what makes Special Olympics special? And I just don't like those words, because it's like, well,
like you're
there's
different.
really nothing that special about special education. Like my school district did a crap load of a crappy job of handling special education. They, remember the game with the blocks as a kid, where you put the blocks in the correct hole? Well, my school, I think they forgot how to play with blocks, because they were trying to shove a square peg in a round hole. It just doesn't freaking fit. And so they just put it's kind of like the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer movie. They put all the misfit toys on one island because no one wants to play with them. I mean, that didn't sound right, but my point being is that my school shoved everybody in the special education classes. Oh, one size fits all. No, it clearly does not, because with me, not to sound demoralizing to anyone, but I at a higher reading level than, for lack of a better word, than everyone else in my class. Everyone, I don't know what other levels there were. I'm just using as an example. And at the time when I was in 7th grade, I was reading all the Harry Potter books. I might not know everything word for word, but I knew other words. And when I didn't know a word, I believe Google was around at the time. And so I might have Googled the word, or I might ask my parents. I would ask my special education teacher, but I read them cover to cover. I read them all 7 books in 7th grade. Well, actually, technically, yeah, I think 7th grade. I think the 7th book was out in 7th grade. And but yeah, it's the one size fits all doesn't work, and I just don't like the special and everything and the best buddies. It's like, oh, this person's gonna be your best buddy. I'll make my own friends. Thank you.
Jimmy, I'm listening to you, and I want to thank you for sharing this particular part of the opinion, that your version of it, because people are looking at the world from their lenses all the time. I see the world from my own lens, you see it from your own lens, and sometimes we tend to judge according to how we see things, but we don't always think about how you feel, how do you see things, right? I think that's a mistake that we have across the board. We see that in religion, we see that in race, we see that in different diagnoses. We see them in a lot of things, in life and society. We see it on social media today, and the idea is that, I love what you said, is that what's so special. Yeah, I mean, we give that the name of special because maybe it's different, but what's different? We use the term normal. What is normal? I mean, literally, we can go philosophical on this, and probably we will never end the discussion about what is normal. And we adopted the normal status of something that probably is consistent across maybe a larger group. That doesn't mean necessarily it's normal. And, and I will definitely ask this question to our psychiatrist, at the end of the month, because I'd like to actually get some of that. So I have to jot that down when I finish the show, because I want to get his perspective on this, because that's the part. You have lived a very successful life to date, and you are innovating, you are doing things just like everybody else. I am doing a podcast, you're doing a podcast, you have your business, many people have a business. Some people don't have autism and don't have business, you do. So it is not necessarily defined by your condition, whatever situation you're in. It's defined by your will and your personality and your way of thinking. You have dreams like everybody else, you have emotions like everybody else. You might have a different way of dealing with it. We all have different, by the way, I don't think there's anyone that's really normal. just my opinion. I think we all have some level we have some normal of our own version of whatever it is, but it's not normal, right? And we all think that we are fit in a particular group or the other, but it doesn't mean that way, because we all have our own deficiencies. We all have our own limitations. We're human. I think all humans have a level. I mean, actually, we did have this discussion in with Dr. Haim, was actually our standing psychiatrist on the station, and you know what, he did say it, and he broke it down to the way that I think we all have something wrong with us to a degree, meaning that we are not all perfect. There's no such thing as perfectness. And I forgot the words he used, but the concept is that we all are not, as we think we are. We have our own limitations, and we have to be aware of that. And so when we judge others, we judge them just because we want to judge people, but we seldom look at ourselves. Many of us don't look at the mirror and just like, what's wrong with this picture? We don't. Many people don't have that. We'd rather look at somebody else, judge. And then as a society, we kind of put elements or put different groups in different buckets because it's easier to maneuver and kind of judge and discuss and apply. But that doesn't mean, but what you're doing is really moving that kind of, you're almost challenging that. And I'm sure you're not the only one. Many people have done that, challenged it, and successfully so, meaning they've done it, they have proven it, and you are proving it to date. And I know this is not stopping here. You're going to continue your journey, and you're going to do this. And so again, you are creating an awareness to people that they can do it. And by the way, it's not just about autism. I mean, I think anybody can do anything if they want to, now, unless they have a limitation that is a barrier that they cannot, function. And we've had, I mean, Steve Hawking, I think is that the name? The scientist, completely, blanking the name right now. But he was, in a wheelchair. He had, a different, condition. He's brilliant. But there's so many things that, we can't judge on what we see and what we don't, what we don't understand. And everybody has the ability to do things. We just, sometimes we don't allow people to do these things because we cannot close them or bucket them. Or to your point, you were in a class with different levels of maybe learning capacities, right? And to your point, someone can say, well, the resources are limited because we cannot afford to have a class for each, level, right? We have just 2 levels. Here's your 99%, they're really like bright, and these are the other ones that may not be. And that's how they do. But it's not right. It's not right to judge that. When you're what we call special ed, doesn't make you any less valuable or less smart than the other guys. I actually have seen that in the world where it lapses down over time. Someone that you think right now they're very not bright, because you judge them. In the future, they be the ones who actually are excelling in life. And someone that you think they had the brightest future, they're probably not. Life has proven these over time. And unfortunately, we don't reflect on these elements. We think those are exceptions. They're not exceptions. We are making it difficult for ourselves. We are, because we are closing our eyesight. We're not seeing the world for what it is. But you are creating a whole new world for people, a whole inspirational, aspect of things. So I want to thank you for that. And again, I commend you for what you're doing, dude. It's just a true pleasure to have you on, and a true pleasure to hear what you're doing. So let's continue about your work now at Crazy Fitness Guy.
So basically what Crazy Fitness Guy is, it's a motivational website / podcast / live stream. I created it to, like I said, to be a resource in the autism community, but I didn't want to just cover autism. I wanted to cover fitness, lifestyle, nutrition, self-help, self-care, anything that makes up a healthy living lifestyle. Because I saw a lot of my friends who have extra challenges, some who don't, who have put on some, let's say, some extra weight. I mean, I'm not calling them fat. I'm just saying that. And so I was like, and so I was like, some of my friends who relied on the gym for ever and ever and ever. Okay, maybe not forever, but way before the pandemic, they went to the gyms, work out with their support person or personal trainer, where was beneficial for me for in the pandemic when everything was online is that I had karate. I also had Tiger Schulman's, and so even though it was on Zoom, I was still it helped me differentiate the days. But then also I had Beachbody on Demand, which gives me access to like hundreds of nutritional programs, recipes, and thousands of workout programs, and I'm glad because science has proven that exercise is good for your health, manages your stress levels, manages your overall thinking. I was always afraid that the times when I stopped working out because I was sick, or, well, I haven't broken in my, I'm not even going to say that because I'll just jinx myself, but like, if I hurt myself or something else or whatever, I would stop working out. But every time when I'm in a situation like I'm sick or lying in bed, I'm always like, I want to work out. This, and I was like, of course I don't, because I don't believe in. I was like, oh, I'm gonna sweat this thing out. It's like, and like there was one time when I tried it. I tried it once, and I just got worse for another like 2.5 weeks. And it's like, oh yeah, that worked. So I was like, I'm never doing that again. And so, but my point is that I made Crazy Fitness Guy to be motivational, to live healthier lifestyles. Now, I'm not saying like, oh, just only eat healthy food. I still have a Christmas cookie here and there. I still have them in my garage. And it's like, but I only have them, I might have only one or two on the weekend, maybe three if I'm, but not all in one night. It might be like, okay, one here, maybe one here. But I was like, but sometimes it's just one and one. Saturday, Sunday. That's it. Sometimes it's just Sunday. But like I said, it's a cheat meal, not a whole cheat week. It's not a cheat day every single day. You got to earn it. And so my podcast is an extension of my website. It provides same, it kind of provides, it covers the same topics, but it goes into entrepreneurship, but also into, I had motivational speakers, nutritionists, dietitians. I've also had authors and other podcasters, etc. on it. And like I said, my autism is the backbone of my brand, but it's not just about autism. And it's not just geared for guys, even though it has the word guy in the name. And I say that is because I felt like some women who came on my show who like, I don't know if this is right for me. And it's like, just because it has the word guy in it doesn't mean it's just for guys. And it's like, unfortunately, it doesn't tell me who's reading my website and whatnot. But I've seen people. I've had men comment on my posts. I have women who comment on my posts. Just everybody in between that, etc. I'm trying to make it a welcome community. It's not one size fits all. It's for everyone. It's not just, but I niche down just to stand out from the crowd.
No, Jimmy, to me, your name is perfect. I mean, just, Crazy Fitness Guy, but doesn't mean anything. It's just you. That's your name. And, people come in and talk about different things. And I love what you said. It's about lifestyle. It's about fitness. Ultimately, a good person is autism, but you are doing, more diversified discussion topics, which is open to a lot more audiences and share. I was going to ask you, like, are you specific? It sounds like you're not dedicated just to autists, folks. You're basically public, to everyone that can listen and learn. And your guests are pretty much general, knowledge based. So it's not an issue. People come in and talk, and you have different angles that you bring in. And I think because you're an autist, because you have been dealing with it, you are driving. I mean, I think you're motivating a lot of people. By the way, I'm pretty sure that's not just people who have autism. I think you motivate everybody. You motivate me, to be honest with you. You motivate everybody, because the fact is you're doing something. You're making a difference. And that's the part. People talk or do. You're doing. And to me, that is the highest level possible of any person in this society that we live today. If you're doing and helping and driving information, and you're sharing value and insights, there's nothing better than that. I mean, knowledge is what is meant to be shared, and you're doing that. You're helping and you're guiding, but you're also giving inspiration. You're giving a hope to other people that, hey, I can do this. There is an opportunity for me here. Jim is doing it. I can do it. And that's actually sometimes that is important. Being also a role model to a lot of other, people, being an innovator, pioneer. That's also something special, and by the way, I know you don't like the word special, but I'm saying that here in a positive way. I mean, it's like unique. It's something that people should admire. It's that kind of thing. So again, I'm a fan because I love anyone that is actually helping people and doing something to change lives and bring a different level of information and insights to people, to enlighten people. You're doing it, man. Again, you got a fan here. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Keep up what you're doing, man. You're doing it. You're helping people. Anything I could do to support, I'm here for you. And really, I hope that some, folks that are watching and listening right now to the show currently or, later on, just take and sink in the concept here and what Jimmy had to go through. And he is here today as a testament to, motivation, to inspiration, to real determination to succeed and help others. So Jimmy, you're the man. And I want to ask you, what would be some of the, we're coming to the end show, what would be some of your best advice right now to people watching and listening?
Don't listen to the naysayers, because I could I can care less what they have to say. That they told me I wouldn't be able to read higher than a second grade level. I'm currently in college. I would like to meet that person who said that about me. I've also they also told me I wouldn't be able to clean, cook, tie my own shoes. I can do all of that. I've also and I also came over. They also told me, what else did they tell me? Oh, they also told me I wouldn't amount to anything when I was growing up.
I've heard that before too. So trust me.
This April 12th of this year, I'll be up and running for 6 years. And yeah, to be honest, I've been making ends meet. It's not paying for itself yet, but I'm like really hoping that this year will turn around, since I think the pandemic is over. I don't know, because when my parents talk about the news, they keep on saying this pandemic, this, then, and I don't give a crap anymore. I was like, I don't know who's right, who's wrong. I don't care to even listen. And that, but I'm to be honest, I'm hoping that it'll be a better financial year than the past 2 years, because it's been a downhill a little bit. And I have my own app. I have my own podcast. My podcast is going to be 3 years old this year as well. Don't let the number of episodes fool you. I have 42 episodes currently, and that's because it's a monthly podcast. When I started everything, I was writing weekly. Now I'm writing monthly, because since my traffic plummeted last year, the last 2 years, I was like, oh, if it's plummeted and I've been writing every freaking week, let me try once a month. Maybe I can create better quality. So I started to do that. And I've been in, I enjoy, I like to be honest, I like to say I enjoy every second of it, but that would just be lying, because I've been on an emotion roller coaster down, and I always think, but my other advice to people is don't give up on your dreams, because people will always tell you, is like, oh, I don't think that's possible. And the reason why they tell you that is because that's their mindset, not yours. And somebody told me that, I forget who, and that stuck with me, because I was saying, I've come this far. I put a lot of hard work and money, spend $1,000 on a freaking trademark, and I'm in this for the long haul, and it's not a sprint, it's a marathon. And so don't ever give up on your dreams. Your dreams might be painful at times, and trust me, mine has. And I'm learning not to always look at the data, because guess what? Like what I've say multiple times on people's podcasts, look at all the data that was wrong that people say about me. You're not going to amount to anything. Someone was a little blind about the future. And it's like, they didn't even know me back then. And it's like, yeah, I know the data doesn't look the brightest for autism, but it doesn't mean we're totally useless. And it's like, we might have extra hard challenges, but when life is not hard,
Jimmy,
taxes are hard. Driving can be hard, especially when traffic jams and whatnot. Cooking can be hard because directions can be. It takes a special kind of I don't like that word. It takes a very well written person to write directions that people can understand. Because if you forget part B, well, how did you get to A? How did you get from A to C without going to B? And so that's my wisdom to leave everyone, is don't give up on your dreams. Don't listen to the naysayers, and yeah, listen to your own gut feeling. And if you want, and at the end of the day, you have to look at yourself in the mirror. So do you want to see the person who gave up, or do you want to see the person who, oh, I had to close my business because of something else for some other reason, but you didn't give up. But if you want to give up, you're the only one who has to look at yourself in the mirror at night, and you have to live with that kind of guilt.
Jimmy, I want to say this. You've motivated me right now, and literally, you're almost affirming some of the stuff and confirming some of the stuff that I personally believe in. And listening to you, I am literally, just happy just to hear what you said. What you said is the biggest probably motivators of all mankind. If we use those two elements you stated right now, the fact that do not listen to the naysayers and the haters and the negative people. 1, 2 is don't give up on your dreams and achieve. You were told that you're not going to amount to anything, but that's the problem when people they have short sight. They don't see what you can do and your ability to succeed. They think that sometimes because you have a challenge, that life is just that you're not going to be able to overcome it. That's the part. What you said right now is really the core of all success. And many people, have been told the same. I have been told the same. And I'm not there yet in terms of success, but I can tell you, I believe in that, and I'll continue, and only time will show us. And yes, there is tough times that come through this. If you want to maintain it, that's the thing. It's like when it gets the worst, it's like uphill, and then the roller coaster is like nice and smooth. And hopefully there's no more, uphill again. But that's the idea. But don't give up, make it work. So your advice is priceless, man. I'm telling you, people watching and listening right now, Jimmy is making a difference. Jimmy is making it, and it will make it. And I know for a fact you will continue doing what you're doing. Nothing's going to ever stop you, and you're going to do more and more and more. And I just wish people will hear more about your story, hear more of your podcast. Anything I can do, dude. You're more than welcome to have your shows on my network, and I'll spread them out, like wildfire, because I do believe that it will motivate other people as well. So again, you have a friend, you have someone that can support, any way I can do, in terms of the media piece of it. And I do believe in your success and that you're going to do more, dude. So just keep up the great work, and yes, do not believe in all those folks that say no or you can't. Yes, you can.
Do you mind if I say one more thing real quick?
Oh, please go.
Just to share some success with you, with everyone listening, just to help motivate. I've been featured in Autism Parent magazine, hence why I brought them up. Not even just a page, 2.5 pages to be exact. I also been featured in in New York City, Times Square, on the billboard. I
Wow.
have also been featured in a co-author book that was just published January 11th this year. And so now I'm an officially published author. Well, actually, I should say co-author. I don't know if I can.
We didn't cover that one, but
Uh,
but thank you for bringing that
but
up.
next time. And but then I also got featured in 20 other publications, big and small. Not like the big name ones, but
You will be.
will be soon.
You will be.
But then I also been featured on. I don't know if you're familiar with the show Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, they have a podcast. I mean, an official podcast of the show, and I got to meet Janet Varney and Dante Bosco. Janet Varney was the voice of Korra and Legend of Korra, and Dante is the voice of Zuko in the show. And so I got to be on the Avatar podcast, and it was flipping awesome. You know, I remember when I saw that they had the podcast, I listened to all their episodes and whatnot. I'm kind of behind now a little bit, only because I took a break from podcasts. I mean, from listening to podcasts, just because I was just all over the place, and I was not in a good place near the end of last year, as I was just like finishing up my last few business tasks. And it's like, this sucks. I need to finish this. But I remember towards the end of the year, I was like, I think it was like around in the summertime. I was like, it'd be really cool if I could ever be on the show, because I've seen the Avatar: The Last Airbender gone to my 112th time, almost finished my 112th time watching it straight through. Well, I mean, and not straight through. I don't do it all in one sitting, but from start to finish. And I remember I was like, who do I reach out to be on the show? I was like, I really want to be on the show. And finally, I did some digging, and I got on the show. I was like, holy crap. And I just pitched it to them. It's like, I can literally say it was like, name one episode. I can tell you literally from scene to scene what happened, some funny references in the show. And I've seen it 111 times when I pitched it to them. And I think I bet you I stood out from a lot of people who saw the show, or maybe who pitched in. And so I was like, this is so awesome. I got to meet the two celebrities last year, and I was like, and plus my business was awarded the 101 best fitness startup company in Pennsylvania.
You know, Jimmy, a lot of people that may not have autism have not achieved what you've achieved to date. And this is just the beginning. I know you have a long journey ahead of you of success, and you're just going to keep going. Nothing and no one can stop you, man. And I know that for a fact. And you know what? Just keep it up, dude. Don't give up on a dream. Just make it happen. You're making it happen. You're making the time, the history, and people will know about your story. They'll hear about you, and you will be, out there as a motivator, as an inspiration, as a role model to many, and definitely as a success story. So just keep up the good work, man. I love it. And by the way, thank you for being on my show. I'm humbled to have you, actually. And really, today was something I was looking for, because while I have not had the opportunity to have someone from the medical world of the autism and the defined autism and discuss that, I'd love to have someone, at least I had you to talk about it from an actual experience of someone who is living with autism and had to deal with stuff. It's one thing to hear it from an expert, from like what it should be, it could be, and how to be treated, and so on and so forth, and what the diagnosis and different spectrum. And one is to hear the story of someone who actually been living it day in day out. Now, as I said, I don't want to mention who is on my family with autism, just for the show purposes. But I know I've seen it. I live with it. I understand it, and it is something that I want to also be part of to help and educate on. And so thank you so much for being with us, man. And I think we're gonna share this with the public, and they're gonna hear it. They're gonna hear the story, and I just hope that more people get reach to you and listen to your podcast as well. So I will have the link. Now, where would they go to get your show and listen to it, or even participate if they wanted to?
The best way is CrazyFitnessGuy.com. Just everything is on the website, the podcast, the live stream, all the videos. I like to call them articles. People say, "Oh, blog," and it's like, and that's a hobby. I'm an author, and yeah, podcasts, live streams. I even have an app for people to download that all the podcasts. The videos are not in there. I might put them in there eventually.
It's all on the website, right?
Yeah. Everything's on the website. And yeah, the live streams are in the podcast as an app as well. So, I mean, just if anybody want to take it on the go without having to go to CrazyFitnessGuy.com, I mean, the app works, the site works, everything works.
Good.
I'm supposed to.
What about the book? You said, you mentioned the co-author. What's the name of the book?
It's called Transformational. It's called The Art of Connection, Transformational Quotes, 365 Days of Transformational Quotes. I might have mixed the name up a little bit, only because, like I said, I was only part of one page in the book. It was like 100 plus authors. I didn't come up with the title.
That's okay. Listen, I don't have a book, and I'm not even in half a page, so I can tell you, that's a full page ahead of me in author business. So I'm not even.
I mean, if I wrote my own book, it would be like a very memorable name. I mean, not to bash the authors of this, the person who published it, but it's just a very wordy name. Is like The Art of Connection, 365 Days of Quotes, and like I just felt like it just is quite long, and sometimes it's just like a mouthful, and so and that's just my point. It just
so Jimmy, is there a book in the air for you in the future?
I cannot confirm or deny.
This message will what is it? This message will self-destruct.
Yeah. I'm secretly James Bond.
Well, yeah. Well, is that Mission Impossible? I think that's that one. But listen, hey, I love it, man. I love it.
I got my second co-author book lined up, and that's due March 10th of this year. So I have like 3,000 words to write by March 10th. So it's 4,500 total words. So I get my full chapter. So instead of a page.
Do your thing, man. And again, like I said, you are doing it. You are, really pioneering and making a difference. And you know what? That's again, it's something to be proud of. Your parents should be proud of you. The world should be proud of you. And, I think you got the support of everybody that's watching and listening right now on this particular, platform and the show. So with that being said, I know we've exceeded the time, but it was just so much, interest in this discussion, and it was just beautiful. So I want to thank you, Jimmy. And I want to thank our audiences for watching and listening today. It's a long show, but you know what? I think going to the show from the beginning to the end, just gonna be a whole different experience for most of us watching and listening. This can bring us to more motivation and inspiration, and really, really want to do more and more and more. And again, we support you, Jimmy. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So folks, that being said, Hurricane H here. We'll be talking soon. New day, new show, new topic. Talk soon. Bye for now.